What's up, guys? It's Nick, and welcome to the unofficial JoJo tier list. So last time, which was like a month ago, more than that actually, like a month and a half ago, we did the official JoJo tier list. Now this is the unofficial JoJo tier list. I just thought we should do that because I wanted to do this for a video really badly. Where today we're going to be ranking JoJo villains. But before we start that, I want to say I was going to do another Minecraft episode today, and then I realized that I have nothing new to do in Minecraft, really. It's really just, like, farming, trying to get, like, wither skulls and stuff. So I've decided that I'm not going to do another Minecraft episode until I get all 3 wither skeleton skulls, all 64 of my Phantom's blood, and all the ender pearls that I'm going to need in order to find the stronghold. And then once I find all of those, I'll come back. So I'll be working on that in my spare time, but I will not be doing episodes on that in the meantime. So, without further ado, let's just get into this. So, we're ranking JoJo villains. First up, he's going to be a repeat offender, but this is his first offense right here. Dio Brando, the Mr. Vampire himself. Alright, so, part 1. I really do like part 1. And honestly, Dio is really the reason that I like part 1. Jonathan is not that cool of a guy. He's not that great of a JoJo. He's really noble and everything, and he's, like, cool as, like, he's good at being a hero, but, like, he's not even close to my favorite JoJo. Dio is really what makes Phantom's Blood good. So for that, I would say at least C. He makes it into at least C. He brings together the entire part. He's got the most personality out of everyone, except for, my boy Speedwagon. I mean, there's a lot of personality going on there. But, yeah, he really ties together the whole part. He's smart, like, very, very strategic, but also, like, really passionate and emotional. He becomes a vampire after discovering it accidentally. At first, he's just trying to, like, murder Jonathan, and he figures out that the stone mask can turn people into vampires, and then he uses that against him in, like, the biggest, like, betrayal scene in all of JoJo. Unless there's, well, a lot of you are probably thinking Panacocha Fugo in part 5, but I don't think so. I think this was a big moment. Set off the entire chain of events for the rest of the series. Like, I'm looking at Curio, Kage, and Diavolo right now, and they don't even look like they fit in, but this guy made it so that they do. So, I'm gonna say that because of all of that, he's going in a solid A tier. He's not the best, he's not the cream of the crop, but he's definitely up there. The only repeat offender ever and has a huge lasting effect on the series. He's going in A tier. Absolutely. How could you not? Alright, next up. ACDC. Now, this guy from part 2, first one to die out of the Pillar Men, which is surprising because he didn't even, like, talk during the whole thing when they first met the Pillar Men. It was Cars was there, and he was like big looming figure. You can tell he's like the big bad, and Wham obviously took the spotlight. But ACDC, he did nothing, and he just kind of came in at the end and was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, here's an extra ring in your throat, Joseph." When Wham already put one around his heart, so he really just came in there and was a dick for like 2 seconds and then left. So that knocked him down a bunch because we didn't see a lot out of him. And all that we did see out of him was he killed. Did he kill Loggins? Or Logs? It's not Loggins. Loggins is the. Is the local. Is it? Oh, let me make sure I'm not wrong. Is it Loggins in Messina? Okay. I know it's Messina and not Machina. Okay, it is Loggins. Yeah. No, not. No. Yeah, it's Loggins, and his localized name is Logs. Okay, so yeah, so he kills Loggins. I think Messina fights with Caesar. I think so. ACDC kills Loggins, and and then it lets Joseph show off a bunch of his tricks and stuff, and he steals his trick of like, oh, I know what you're gonna say next. Um, and it also gave us the meme of, you may have outsmarted me, but I outsmarted your outsmarting. But really, he doesn't do a whole lot. Honestly, as far as ACDC goes, I'm I'm gonna put him firmly in the F tier because out of all of the villains, he does like nothing. And I am considering him a major villain. I'm considering all three Pillar Men as the major villains of Part Two. So, all right. Next up is Wham. Wham, I think. I don't know if I'd say he's a better villain than Cars. I think Wham is a better character than Cars, but I do not think he's a better villain. Cars is a great villain. Not the best, but he's a better villain than Wham. Wham isn't really a villain. He's sort of just following Cars. He's the youngest out of the three Pillar Men, but he has like the most warrior spirit. Really noble. Um, Out of all of these, I would say he's one of the most noble out of all the Pillar Men. I would say like him and Funny Valentine really have like hearts of gold, if you will. Um, but his Divine Sandstorm is pretty cool. Um, but he doesn't stand out a ton. Like when you think of villains, generally you think of Dio, you think of Curio, you might even think of Diavolo, you'd probably think of Funny Valentine. You don't generally think of Wham. As far as villains, he's not a great villain. Like I said, great character, not a great villain. And since I'm ranking villains, I think that means he has to go in E. Because he still is technically a better villain than ACDC, but he's not a great villain. He's a great guy. Alright, now the big bad of part two, Cars. And I just want to say, when I looked up Cars, I spelled it with a C because that's actually how you spell his name, because it's like the band, the Cars. And Google was like, oh, did you mean Cars with a K? And I was like, no, that's like the localized version. It's with a C. Like if you read the manga, it says Cars with a C. So shut up, Google. But anyway, that aside, so Cars. So I didn't even talk about ACDC has his heat mode, so he controls shit with heat. His blood is really hot. And then I did talk about with Wham, he has his Divine Sandstorm, he controls wind, whatever. So Cars controls light, which that's he doesn't really control it, but he is like the light man. If this was One Piece, he would be the light man. Um, and that's pretty cool. So he's got his bone sabers, which we find out eventually it's like a chainsaw, which that just makes it even cooler. Uh, so he's really strong then, and then he becomes Ultimate Life Form. I mean, he's probably the strongest villain in the JoJo series. Like, he could probably beat all of these other villains. Like, Dio Brando, he can stop time, he couldn't kill Cars. So, no. Yeah. Like, Dio could stop time, but wouldn't be able to kill him. Curio, the best he could do is go back in time, but then he would still have to deal with him. Diavolo, no. None of them would be able to kill Cars. The only way he never even actually died. He was just launched out into space. That's how good of a villain he is. I think he's the only villain on this entire list to not die. Except for, I will say, Higashikata Joben, which, well, I'll get to that. Before you say anything, comments, I'll get to Higashikata Joben. But Cars is like, he doesn't get killed. He's like Notorious B.I.G. So I think for that places him up pretty high. But also, he's pretty generic goals, kind of like Dio Brando, except without all of uh, the charisma. You know, he's not He's not like he doesn't draw you in really. He's just sort of like, I'm fucking strong and you can't do anything about it. So I think he goes in C. C for cars. Alright. Next up, we've got our big old boy, probably the most famous villain in JoJo, Dio. And he's so famous that we already talked about him. Except this is bigger, badder Dio. He's an adult now. You can see from his adultness up in here. And he's got a stando power. The first villain of the stand. And what a stand at that. Can stop time. The first stand to really just, like, fuck with your head. Like, all the other ones, it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I get, that makes sense. This guy slashes, this guy punches, this guy shoots, whatever. That makes sense. Even stands with, like, Hanged Man. It's like, okay, this guy hides in mirrors. A little on the wackier side, but I can still get that. Or, like, Justice. It's made of fog, and I guess, like, it can control you like a puppet through your wounds. Alright, whatever. I can understand that. It's not too complicated. Being able to stop time is a mind-fucking ability. Like, all of the villains should have mind-fucking abilities. Like, Dio Brando, the original one, had, like, all of his random vampire powers that he pulled out of nowhere. Like, he can freeze you, and he can shoot the body fluids from his eyes, and all that. And then ultimate life form, it makes sense. He can stop time, and that makes him amazing. And he's still got pretty much the same amount of enthusiasm as he did in Phantom's Blood, but we do not see him for nearly as long as we did in Phantom's Blood. I think he's there for like the last 3 episodes of Dio's world, whereas I think even as far as episodes, not even as far as time proportionally, I think just as far as episodes, we saw part 1 Dio for longer. And that really knocks this one down. I think with all the other things considered, it would have been an S. But just the fact that we don't see him. He's like, surprisingly underused for being Dio. And I think that leaves him an A as well. Surprising that even after 100 years and gaining a stand, he's still not any better of a villain. So, I think that's the perfect spot for Dio. Alright. Kira Yoshikage. Now, I have plenty of things to say about good old David Bowie here. Kira Yoshikage. In my opinion, and in many people's opinions, definitely one of, if not the best villain in JoJo. Kira Yoshikage is amazing. Diamond is Unbreakable is just an amazing part. I love Diamond is Unbreakable. Like, more and more, it's becoming my favorite part. He's a great villain. Not the strongest stand ability. Sometimes I question whether it could even beat the world. Bites the Dust, I think absolutely. That could beat the world. And being able to blow him up, yeah. But I don't know. He is reclusive a lot of the time, which that's a good and a bad thing. It's good because it's like a good character choice, you know? It makes sense for him. But I think we still see him more than Dio. And there really aren't that many bad things about Curio Yoshikage as far as, like, how good of a villain he is. I think, really, like, amazing stand ability to counter. I think, like, this is first example of the main character's stand ability counters the villain's stand ability. Because with Dio, they had the same stand ability. The whole thing was, it's the same type of stand. But with this, it's like, it's the perfect opposite. He destroys everything, and Higashikata Josuke puts everything back together. I think just the duality of that, and also just, like, all of his villain stuff. Like, Killer Queen is amazing. It's the most popular stand among people who have only watched the anime. I'm putting Curio Yoshikage in S. He's S tier material. Because he's got all of the villain stuff. He's not, like, big, huge plans. And that's the whole thing, is he doesn't have to have big, huge plans. He wants to live a quiet life. That's his whole thing. It's like, he doesn't go out to fight people because that would just like cause more fights, and he knows that, so he just like kills whoever he needs to and then stays back. He's strategic, and that makes him really really good. All right, Diavolo compared to Curio's Kage, extremely underwhelming. I really have a bone to pick with Diavolo, and that's that we see him for absolutely no time. That's his whole thing, is that he doesn't want to be found out, but he doesn't even do it in the way that Kage does. He just, like, doesn't go anywhere. Kage goes places, but just does it subtly so that he doesn't get, like his cover isn't blown. He just isn't anywhere, and we don't see him until, like, the last, like, 5 episodes of the part. And also, unlike every single other villain, except for Higashikara, like I said, we're getting there. We'll get there. He is the only one that doesn't improve. His stand ability, not even just stand abilities, he just doesn't improve. Brando from part 1, he is just a normal kid who's a dick, and then he gets better abilities. He becomes a vampire, he has super strength, and later on he can do like the flash freeze, and he does the shooting from the eyes. Cars, he already has like his lightsaber thing, and then he like becomes the ultimate life form. And then Dio Brando, one of the, or not even Dio Brando, but Dio, like, he has the world and he can stop time for 5 seconds, and then he goes even further once he gets Joseph's blood, and now he can stop time for 9 seconds, I believe. Kage had Killer Queen, and then brought out Sheer Heart Attack, but even with that, he still gained Bites the Dust. Enrico Poochie started with White Snake, then got Sea Moon, then got Made in Heaven. Funny Valentine had D4C, and then got Love Train. And then Higashikara Jobin, like I said. We'll get to that. He doesn't improve, but that's because we don't even know if he's the villain. But Diavolo, he just doesn't improve. He has King Crimson, and then he just settles. And, yeah, sure, he's got 2 personalities. He's Diavolo and Doppio. But he and if anything, he gets worse, because when he goes into Doppio, he only uses King Crimson's arms and Epitaph instead of the entire ability of King Crimson, and it makes him a lot worse. But that being said, he still is a great villain, because he's reclusive, like them, or like him, not like them. Dio was not reclusive, not at all. Which is a great tactic, and, well, it's not really that great, actually, because he's more just hiding from the main characters, but also the fact that, like, he's connected with everything. So, like, he was connected with Polnareff and the Crusaders when they went to go get the arrows, and, like, he's controlling all of that. That stuff is pretty cool. However, the rest of it knocks him down, so I'm gonna put him in a D for Diavolo. Alright. Now, the good old gay priest himself, Enrico Poochie. Now, part 6 is weird. I wouldn't say I dislike part 6. I definitely like part 6. It's a great part. But it's very weird. It is very strange. In many, many ways. But we're not really here to talk about that so much as we are to just talk about, hey, Enrico Poochie, he's kind of whack, right? Let's talk about that. So, took after Dio, which, that's really cool. It's cool to see that Dio still has an impact after he died, even, in Enrico Poochie, which, like, you don't expect him. You don't, like, see him immediately, but it's not as drawn out as, like, Diavolo's reveal. Not even close. It's like he's still there. And Diavolo, more so even than Dio, he just is untouchable. It's like for the entire series, they keep trying. They're like, oh, we gotta go get the priest. And it's like, you can't, because he's everywhere, and he has an amazing stand ability. And, like, his whole thing of attaining heaven, like going for the ultimate stand. It makes him really great. He's both menacing, but also the whole priest thing and like his backstory and everything. It also makes him more down to earth. So it's really like a perfect blend of all those characteristics, uh, and it does make him like a really really good villain. So I'm gonna put Enrico Pucci. I kind of want to put him at an A, but honestly, I feel like he deserves S. I feel like yeah, because he's not as eccentric as Dio, but he definitely admires Dio. And but he's got like his personality stuff is like all blends together into like the perfect mix of menacing and also just a great character. I think that is amazing. That puts him in S. I think before I give myself a chance to be like, oh well, Stone Ocean's weird, so he shouldn't get an S. No, I think Enrico Pucci gets an S. All right, it's been like 20 minutes, so let's wrap this up. Funny Valentine. Funny Valentine is very cool. The President of the United States, which is a concept that was honestly, I don't think anyone except Rocky could have thought of. The President of the United States is the villain of the series. Not just the fact that like, oh, how could the president be the villain, but just like someone of like such like world renown like status is the villain. And like not even just like a character is like one of the main characters. That's just amazing. That being said, he is like the most noble out of all of them. He definitely has like the most heroic goals out of all the villains. Because Dio just wants to take over all this shit. Cars just wants to be the most powerful. Which Wham and ACDC, they're just like along to help him, whatever. Curio, he wants to live a quiet life, which that's pretty noble, but it's like it only helps himself. Um, Diavolo, I guess he wants to live a quiet life, but he also wants to fuck shit up, and he wants to be the leader of a gang. And Enrico Pucci wants to attain heaven. He's like, I want to help my people to have the best lives they possibly could. And like he says, I'm going to be the first to take the napkin. He's a really, really good villain. Really, really amazing. However, him being like the villain, he doesn't show up for a lot of it. I feel like it is a pretty good timing because he doesn't show up right away like Dio, and he doesn't show up too late like Diavolo. He shows up just late enough. I feel like he's fashionably late into the villain scene with his D4C, because D4C is that the arc is fairly late into the part. But we also do see Funny Valentine before that. Um, but I don't know. I think he's not the best villain, which a lot of people disagree. But I don't think he's the best villain personally. I think Steel Ball Run is the best part because it has so many good things that mix together that just make the part even better. Whereas like some parts like Stone Ocean really only have like Enrico Pucci is like one of the best parts of Stone Ocean, and but there's not a ton else going for it. Or like part two, definitely. It's like it has the strongest character in all of JoJo Ultimate Lifeform Cars, but like that's it. I feel like Steel Ball Run is the best part, or at least my favorite, because it has a bunch of things like Funny Valentine, but Funny Valentine himself does not make up for the part. So I'm gonna put him in an A tier. Right there. And I'm not including Diego Brando because I think he's just like a bullshit. Pulled it out in the last second. Oh hey, here's Diego from another universe, and now he has the world. Yeah, no, that's dumb. I'm taking that out of here. This is the unofficial JoJo tier list. I'm allowed to do whatever I want. Speaking of doing whatever I want, Higashikata Jobin. Let's talk about Jojo Leon. Now, Jojo Leon doesn't have an official villain yet, but they've definitely built it up to seem like Higashikata Jobin is it. He's the villain. which also, I want to say, new Jojo Leon chapter comes out tomorrow. They come out every month on the 19th, except for last month. One didn't come out, which was a little disappointing. But it's coming out tomorrow, and it should take a few days to get translated, but then maybe, I don't know, maybe he'll be more of a villain then. But there are a bunch of different theories for who the villain is going to be. A lot of people think it's going to be Higashikata Kato. I've also heard theories of the... What's the guy? Akemefu Satoru? Or whatever the guy is. Satoru... Akefu. Yeah, Satoru Akefu. The guy that they're currently fighting in the Dangerous Pursuit arc, which is what they're in right now, I think. The guy whose stand ability, it makes you trip over shit and, like, smash your shins in. I don't know. But I've heard that. I've heard Higashikata Kato, whatever. I think it's going to be Higashikata Jobin. Just because he just seems like he's been built up as a villain. Because, like, Higashikata Kato, I mean, she could be the villain. But then again, we are in chapter 95, going into 96. And I don't think we're going to get enough character development out of her to make her the villain. Then again, we didn't get a ton out of Diavolo either, but I mean, at least we knew that the boss was going to be the villain. We just didn't know that the boss was Diavolo. So, I guess we don't know who he is, but just judging Higashikata Jobin, he wants his son to live happily, whatever, and he's sort of in a gang, but it's not a gang, it's more just like a corrupt business. So he's not even as good as Diavolo in that regard. But he is, like, thoughtful and stuff, but he also seems like he's kind of clumsy. He's, like, the clumsiest out of all of them so far, at least. And we haven't seen a ton out of Speed King, which can, like, increase temperatures and stuff. But yeah, I'm interested to see what's going on with him, even if he's not the villain. And I think I'm going to put him in a solid B. Number 1, so that I can have someone in B. And number 2, because it kind of seems right. It's like, he could be A tier. I don't think he's, like, I think Cars and Below are sort of, like, bad villains. Like, I don't think Higashikata Jobin would be as bad of a villain as them. But he's not as good as the rest of them. So, I think this is my unofficial JoJo tier list. Curio, Kage, and Riko Poochie in S tier, all the way down to ACDC in F tier. I think that makes sense for me. My taste. Yeah, but I think that is going to do it for this one. Oh, God, I really need to stretch out and everything. But if you disagree with my list, how dare you? But also, I don't care that much, and you can make your own tier lists and put them in the comments. But this was fun. I did enjoy this. I liked just talking about all these villains. The one that surprised me the most was definitely Enrico Pucci. The more I thought about him, he makes sense for S tier. And Funny Valentine also being in A tier. I knew he would be up there, but I was hoping he would be an S, but it seemed more of an A. But yeah, so totally make your own tier lists. Put them in the comments. I'll read them. I don't know. Maybe we'll get some nice debates about that. That'd be pretty neat, I guess. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this one, you can hit the big old like button. It tells me whether or not you like the video or not, so consider doing that. You can also check out my Twitter and Instagram in the description as well. They're always there. You can always check them out. Sometimes I post stuff on them. I don't know. And you can also feel free to leave comments, like I said. Make your own tier list, but also you can leave suggestions, and I like to read those. I'll take suggestions. I'll read tier lists. Whatever you got, I'll read it. And you can also click right down here, I believe it is. Let me make sure. Yeah, right down here to go see my most recent video. You can click in the middle-ish there to go subscribe, and all the way on the other side is what do we want to put there? Maybe the last JoJo tier list I made. That'll go over there. Yeah, that'll be over there. Alright. Anyways, thank you guys once again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Boogan out.